Yeah, I think I've unmuted myself. Am I audible? Okay. But you
Yes,
are not
sir.
audible.
Radhaswamy, sir.
Okay, fine. So how will we start? Do I just get started or there is some
Uh,
preliminaries?
no, sir. First, we will begin from pair with pair. After that, we will
Okay.
start.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, sir.
रिकॉर्डिंग
वो तो रिकॉर्ड वो लोग करेंगे ही।
करेंगे किस तरह
हाँ हाँ दे देंगे।
हाँ, मुझे बोलना है। और हमारा कैमरा से कैमरा अब स्टार्ट स्क्रीन शो होगी। ओके, हम स्टार्ट कर दें फिर। आप बता दीजिए। कर दें सर? स्टार्ट करें। Very good morning, participants. It gives me an immense pleasure to extend to you a very warm welcome on behalf of the School of Education, Faculty of Education, DEI, who has clubbed all of us for the workshop on fundamentals of artificial intelligence and its applications in education. Now I welcome respected Dean, Professor Archana Kapoor, the coordinator, School of Education, Professor Nandita Satsangi, the head, Faculty of Education, Professor NPS Chandel, and our expert, Professor C. Patwardhan and Professor N.K. Mishra, the faculty members and the participants. Firstly, I would request you all to kindly stand for the prayer. Now we will start the prayer, please. Now, I request Professor Nandita Satsangi to throw some light on the School of Education, which is running in Faculty of Education from the March 2019. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a few words about our institution, the faculty, and the School of Education under which the seminar, the present workshop is being organized. Just a few, let me just share my screen with you. I hope the screen is visible to you all. The DEI is a NAAC accredited A+ institution. The strength of the institute is its unique policy of education, which aims at evolving a complete man or a complete person through its innovative value-based system of education. Our unique curriculum with its core courses for all undergraduate programs like cultural education, rural development, co-curricular activities, social service, extension programs, and many others help us to achieve our objectives. We believe in serving the last, the least, the lowest, and the lost by empowering the weaker sections of the society. With a low fee structure, 80% of our students are from the lower socioeconomic strata of the society, and 70% girls, but all selected on a merit basis. During the COVID times, it gives us great satisfaction that we were able to continue our activities through the supervised online instruction mode with zero disruption in the academic session. The Faculty of Education is one of the oldest and largest faculties of the university with a long history of quality training and research. It has been awarded in February 2019 with the status of the School of Education under the National Mission for Teachers in Teaching by the Ministry of Education. Under the School of Education, these are the programs. Under the School of Education, we have set up 2 centers of education, 2 centers of specialization, the CAIE, or the Center for Artificial Intelligence in Education, and the CCART, that is the Center for Knowledge Acquisition, Retention, and Transformation. It is under the CAIE, or the Center for Artificial Intelligence in Education, that the present workshop is being organized. We can say with a sense of satisfaction that the themes of both our centers have been reinforced by the National Policy on Education 2020. The CBSE is also promoting both artificial intelligence and art-integrated learning in schools, which are themes of our 2 centers. Thus, with our training programs, we hope to sensitize the teachers in these areas and empower them with relevant skills for the new trends in education. With this brief introduction, I hand over the session back to our coordinator, Dr. Neetu Singh, to introduce the chief guest and the keynote speaker for the day, our expert, Professor Patwardhan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, to share the objectives and valuable work which we have done or also doing in School of Education, DEI. Now I would like to share some objectives of today's workshop, and then we will welcome our expert, Professor C. Patwardhan. This workshop is designed to make aware teacher educators, pre-service and in-service teachers, university teachers, research scholars about the basic concept of artificial intelligence and how can we make effective our teaching and learning process through the help of AI. So to know more about the advancement of AI, its uses, I would like to welcome Professor C. Patwardhan. Firstly, I want to introduce Professor C. Patwardhan. He is the professor in Department of Electrical Engineering. He has more than 22 years of experience in teaching and research. He has a very good publication with 250 and more than 250 publications in national and international level publications. The areas of specialization of his interest are soft computing, quantum computing, image processing, intelligent information processing, evolutionary algorithms, etc. He has ongoing collaborations with CAU, Kiel, Germany. He has more than uh, uh, various publications, conferences, conference proceedings. Now I request you, sir, to please start or share your knowledge about this topic with all of us and our esteemed participants. Sir, please, Professor Sri Patwardhan.
Yeah. Yeah. So am I audible? Am I audible?
Patwardhan, sir,
Yeah.
please start.
Yeah. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, please start.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, organizers, for inviting me.
Sir,
and,
your mic is mute, sir.
No, my mic is not
Patwardhan,
mute.
sir,
It's
your mic is
from
mute. You are not audible, sir. Okay.
My
sir.
mic is not mute. Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Should I start?
Sir, please start. There was some. Yes, sir.
There was some problem. Could you restart?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So I have shared my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible clearly.
Okay, great. So thanks a lot, organizers, for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be talking to teacher educators and spreading the story of artificial intelligence, because you are the people who are going to really make sure that our next generation that enters the universities, they are all AI savvy. So my name is Patwardhan, and I've been in DI for the last 31 years. Now a professor of electrical engineering, as was very kindly introduced by the organizers. So here's the context. We'll go through some preliminaries, and then we'll see the purpose of education and how things have been growing exponentially. What is the current status of AI in terms of recent use cases, whether it's hype or reality or a little of both? Because there have been statements made by very, very eminent people, wherein they've said that AI is, in terms of its super intelligence quest, is possibly the greatest quest mankind has ever made. Unfortunately, some people say it could also be our last, because if we create beings that are more intelligent than us, people are worried that they would take over the world and we would then become subservient to them, just as we've made more powerful animals than us, like gorillas, subservient to us today. So what is our take on all these? I'll be talking about all these. How much of it is hype, how much of it is reality, or maybe a little of both. Then we'll talk about trying to understand what is intelligence per se, so that then we see how we can use AI in education. I'll talk about some applications for which people have been utilizing artificial intelligence in education. So here is Skinner, for you. And he says that the real problem is not whether machines think, but whether humans do. Are we moving in the right direction in terms of our progress? If we look at the progress made over the past few centuries, we have certainly progressed in lots of domains, but we've also created problems in several spheres of life and activity. Environment being only one of them, then other issues like not being able to serve the whole humanity, a large population being deprived of basic things like food, water, shelter. So are we really progressing in the right direction? So here is the slide that talks about how we have to move from data to information to intelligence to wisdom. And essentially, it's increasing understanding that leads us from one step to the other. So data and information is just lower order knowledge and skills. We acquire higher order knowledge and skills, and then we move to the side of wisdom. When we look at how education is done today, several times we are faced with the question as to whether AI will replace human teachers. So all of us, are we going to lose our jobs? But if we see what happens in the classrooms, the teacher has a very good perception. Okay, barring COVID, wherein we are now talking on Zoom and we're not able to see our audience. But in a regular class, the teacher has a very good perception as to whether a point needs to be repeated, whether it needs to be elaborated on, whether the students are getting the concept that is being explained, whether the examples that have been given have driven home the point or not. Do we need another example? Have we pointed out the exceptions? Has the connection with what we taught? Is the motivation for the lecture clear? All these ideas a good teacher would always convey in a class. But the problem is, even for a good teacher, all the above things are conveyed to a group, and individual differences are not taken care of. Because teachers are hard pressed for time. We also evaluate on a common platform, and we'll talk about what we are evaluating later. At the systemic level, yes, there are lots of things that, things like credit-based system and so on, they are trying to address. But feedback and corrective steps during a particular course, they are largely missing. So what are the major goals of education? The major goals of education can be divided into easier tasks and the harder tasks. For example, acquisition and retention of knowledge and skills, understanding of one's acquired knowledge, active use of one's acquired knowledge and skills, these are all easier tasks, and our education system does a fairly good job of trying to address these issues. However, there are harder tasks in education, like training the students in soft skills, in life skills, social sensibilities, and spiritual values. Professor Nandita in her introduction talked about some of these that DI has a special system of education to address, but we do need that special system of education in a regular system wherein the contact is limited to lecturing and labs and examinations. These things are very hard to inculcate. But what we see today is that the society is changing very rapidly, and changes are much more rapid than ever before, exponentially faster actually. For example, if we consider the lifestyle changes of human beings in the periods as shown in the slide, from 0 AD to 1700 AD, we don't see much. There were changes, but not too much. With the Industrial Revolution, if you take a person from 1700 and put him in the 1950s in this planet Earth, the changes in the 250 years were far more than what we achieved in the previous 1700 years with the Industrial Revolution. The lifestyle changed a lot. Next 50 years, the Information Revolution brought about as many, if not more, changes than what 250 years of Industrial Revolution or the 1700 years before that brought about. And now, from 2000 to say today, Industrial Revolution, Intelligence Revolution, things are much, much more rapidly changing. So what we could expect is that, see, the time scales are shrinking so much that whatever changes we had in 1700 years or 250 years or 50 years or 20 years will now have in the next 5 years. So we need to adapt to that. When we see how we are performing our goals of education, so if, for example, goal number 1, acquisition and retention, much of our current educational system can be described as memorize, regurgitate, and forget. Students essentially learn to study for the test. So the retention part of goal 1 is not very well served by this approach to learning. The totality of accumulated knowledge is increasing exponentially. And what it means is that the student just cannot memorize the whole knowledge that is required in any particular domain. A similar analysis also holds for skills. Nobody has time to acquire skills in every domain. Converting various data into information and then knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom means the power of applying these attributes critically or practically to make decisions. This, being the second goal, also needs our attention. We want students also to be actively using their acquired knowledge and skills at home, at work, at play, and at school in varied settings. We want that the learning of the specific classroom should be transferred from the classroom environment to other environments, which needs what has been learned. Now, with all these the goals of education, let's now try to understand what is AI and how we can utilize AI for achieving these goals. So essentially, AI focuses on development of hardware and software systems that solve problems and accomplish tasks that, if accomplished by humans, would be considered as a display of intelligence. That's the regular formal definition of AI. There are several other definitions I'll be talking about now. So we want to develop machines as robots, automatic pilots for airplanes and spaceships. Just yesterday, there was a news item wherein the AI has beaten the experts in combat flying. AI had beaten the world champion in chess way back in '97, beaten the world champion in Go in 2016, beaten world champions in Jeopardy. IBM Watson did that in 2011. And now we can add one more to that growing list, wherein they had a competition of combat aircraft programs. And those programs then finally played against the human expert and managed to defeat that human expert 5-0. So when we use the term artificial intelligence, Europeans tend to use the term machine intelligence for that, but essentially it's the same. So when we talk about robotics and AI, our ideas in popular world are shaped by images like this, what Hollywood and Bollywood serve us. So all these are famous robots appearing in various Hollywood classics. But what students need to learn is this. AI, far from being the kind of glamorous things that I showed in the previous slide, is essentially mathematics and logic served in an application wherein the goal of creating that logic and that intelligence is different. However, it doesn't mean that this kind of formalism is not there. So when we talk about intelligence, so what is human intelligence? As opposed to artificial intelligence, we love to say that human intelligence is real intelligence. So we talk about abilities to learn, to pose problems, which includes recognizing problem situations and transforming them into more clearly defined problems, and then solve them. So different individuals differ in their ability to understand complex tasks. Even for a single person, the intellectual performance will vary on different occasions in different domains as judged by different criteria. Concepts of intelligence are attempts to clarify and organize this complex set of phenomena. If we look at different cultures, industrialized North Americans tend to associate intelligence with speedy answers. Speedy answer does not necessarily mean the most brilliant answer. However, many of our intelligence tests actually test how fast we can solve a given set of problems correctly. So both are involved, correctness as well as speed. Rural members of the Baganda tribe in Uganda think of intelligence as slow, careful, active, straightforward, and sane. Some other tribes could talk about intelligence as an intelligent person as a person who exercises prudence and caution, especially in social interaction. Social responsibility, again, very important part of intelligence in another tribe of Kenya. In our Eastern traditions, intelligence and wisdom are related to higher consciousness and ability to take a holistic outlook of things beyond mere materialistic pursuits. So our view of intelligence is very, very different. So Howard Gardner came up with the theory of multiple intelligences, and those include things like musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, linguistic intelligence, logical, mathematical intelligence, naturalists, and so on. So all these are different facets of intelligence, and they are non-commensurable. One could be very, very intelligent in one of these spheres and may not be so intelligent in another sphere. So here we have examples. Obviously, Shakespeare could write an excellent sonnet, but could never fight Bruce Lee, or could not do mathematics the way Einstein would do. In the center, I have put the photograph of our Honorable Prime Minister, and it's up to you to judge which of the multiple intelligences he has. So when there are so varied forms of intelligence, and when we are saying that we are creating artificial intelligence, what is it that we are trying to create? Although the machine intelligence theory claims a biological basis for the kind of intelligence that they are creating, this does not suggest that intelligence is purely genetic or inherited. So we have theories of intelligence that talk about nature, which means that you're born with a certain level of intelligence, and how and to what extent the intelligence is manifest would also depend on nurture, how the environment, how much the person born with certain innate level of intelligence is able to progress through education, through environment, through experience, and so on. If you look at computers today, they are far ahead of the human capability in logical mathematical domain, but not so much in the other domains. So from the perspective of computer science, the definition is about optimizing the ability to solve problems in terms of using minimum resources while solving the problem. So intelligence is somehow connected also to minimal use of resources. So if we do this, if we define intelligence like this, then obviously the way our culture of spending natural resources as if there was no tomorrow puts our intelligence itself in question. So there have been studies which say that if the whole world, everybody was living the way an average North American lives, we need resources worth 5 Earths. And if we live all over the world, everybody lives the way an average European lives, we need the resources worth 3 Earths, and we have only 1 Earth. So it's somewhere the usage of resources has not been done intelligently as far as human race is concerned. So when we look at intelligence, it's not just some form of pattern recognition and response. It reflects a broader and deeper capability for comprehending our surroundings and kind of making sense of things or figuring out what to do in a best way. But when we look at our intelligence tests, and this is what I was referring to earlier also, when we look at our intelligence tests, what do they measure? Our psychological tests and assessments that we are very fond of using for determining IQ, for example. Most people will cluster around the average of IQ 100. Few of us would be very bright, that is greater than 130, or very dull, that's less than 70. The important thing is success in life directly measured by these IQ tests? They do not measure creativity, they do not measure character, they do not measure personality or other important differences between individuals. And they are not intended to do that as well. Because as I said, in our Western culture, fast answers are considered to be a form of intelligence, but which is not necessarily true. So special personality traits, special talents, aptitudes, physical capabilities, experience, there are some important things that our intelligence tests yet do not measure. Now, in this perspective, now we should look at other definitions of AI. Okay, and in Unified Theories of Cognition, Alan Newell, one of the founding fathers of AI, he defined intelligence as the degree to which a system approximates a knowledge level system. That is, a perfect intelligence is defined as the ability to bring the knowledge a system has at its disposal to bear for the solution of a given problem. So this is always synonymous with a goal achievement. Whether that is the right perspective of intelligence, and whether when we create AI with respect to this kind of an understanding of intelligence, would that really be useful is another matter. So all of us are familiar with the story of King Midas, who asked for a boon, who said that I want everything I touch to turn into gold. Looks like a perfectly grand solution for becoming the richest person in the world. And according to some, that is also becoming the most powerful person in the world. But what happened was he couldn't eat anything, his daughter turned into gold, and so on. So the important idea here is that we need to be able to also specify what we exactly want when we create an AI system. And unless we define AI correctly and our understanding of what we want it to do is clear, this is going to be always a messy affair, because we might create a system and give it a goal that it achieves perfectly, but that is really not what we actually wanted in the first place. Like Midas didn't want his daughter to turn into gold in the first place. So that is a problem. So broadly speaking, AI would include tasks like complex logic inference, diagnosis, visual recognition, comprehension of natural language, game playing, explanation, planning, and so on. So these are the areas in which we need to work when we create artificial intelligence. There are three different types of artificial intelligence as on today. People talk about artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence. So artificial narrow intelligence is the ability to perform some tasks that require intelligence. For example, chess, playing chess or Go, or any other diagnosis or any other task that is in a particular domain. So that is why the word narrow. But an intelligence that is created for solving one particular problem in a narrow domain, it cannot do anything else. It just does that. Whereas artificial general intelligence is the ability to achieve complex goals in complex environments using limited computational resources, and this is in a general setting. So you could give it any complex environment and a complex goal, and it should be able to achieve those goals. Artificial superintelligence is the next level, where the intellect greatly exceeds the cognitive performance of humans in virtually all domains of interest. And this is possibly the future. This is where we are heading. And this is where people say that this could be the greatest invention man has ever made, as well as possibly the last invention. Because after that, the artificial superintelligence entities would take over the world as we have taken over due to our superior intellect. So what would be the different types of AI? We may want to model how humans think. We may model how humans act, but whether all humans really act in an intelligent way is a doubtful question. So maybe we would want to model how ideal agents should think and ideal agents should act, not exactly as a human would think or act. So modern AI focuses on the last definition. That's the engineering approach. Because here, success is judged by how well the agent performs, not necessarily using ideas similar to the humans. For example, the chess playing program could operate in a very, very different way than a human expert, because it has got much more raw computational power than the expert, but it achieves the same goal. So success is judged by how well it performs rather than how it performs that particular task. So today we have AI that has achieved several successes, and I'll be talking about that. But before I go into the successes and give you the impression that AI has almost achieved the level of human intelligence, let me clarify that in 1956, people thought that artificial intelligence will soon replicate human intelligence. And in 2020, the situation is still the same. People again are saying that human level intelligence is just around the corner. The paradoxical situation is that we yet do not fully understand the brain, but we believe we can develop something equivalent or more, even something much better than the brain, human brain. Which again, there are both sides of the coin. There are people on both sides of the debate as to whether this is possible or not possible. So we'll have a look at that. But there's definitely been a lot of progress in AI, and these are the different topics in which there has been considerable progress, and progress in all these areas have led to progress in terms of various applications. For example, game playing, I've already mentioned, chess, Jeopardy, Go, and so on. Optical character recognition means that you scan an image of some handwritten or typewritten text, and it becomes editable form in, say, any editor of your own choice, like Microsoft Word or Notepad or whatever. We've also achieved a great success in terms of face recognition. You've seen several advertisements wherein the face itself is used as a passkey for opening a particular laptop or whatever device that you wanted to open. We also have dealt with recommender systems, or Google, some people believe, is the biggest success of AI, because you type half a question and it understands fully what you're trying to say and prompts you about what you're trying to ask. So these are all successes of AI. So here are the examples. Self-driving cars are another example, automatic surgery. Then in healthcare, considerable progress has been made. So much so that an important point that I need to mention here is that this program that beat the world champion in Go, that created a lot of furore because of two reasons. First, Go is a much more complicated program than chess. So anybody who has played chess would know that chess is definitely a very complicated program and requires human intelligence for us to be able to play that game proficiently. And Go is much more complicated. The board size is larger, and strategy wise, it's much more complicated. So in 2012, a set of AI experts, the AI program that could beat the world champion, be created. And the consensus among the experts in AI, experts at the world level, was that not for the next 10 years. And in 4 years, it was already done. So that's the rapidity with which things are changing. And that is very important to understand, because even those problems that today the technology is not good enough to solve, already it is good enough to solve several of our problems. But even those which it's not good enough to solve today, maybe they'll be solved tomorrow. So because the progress is very, very fast these days. Every day we hear some or the other news item regarding some progress that AI has achieved. So there are huge investments that have been made by companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, IBM, and so on. And they have also created a consortium to address the concerns that I raised earlier as to whether the AI that we create will be definitely beneficial for the human race, or it will eliminate the human race itself and make it subservient to it. So there are societies that have been created. So here is the kind of hype that you see, and this is from people in computer science. People say machine learning is the hot new thing. That's from John Hennessy, the president of Stanford. Machine learning is going to result in a real revolution. This is the chief technology officer of Sun. Machine learning is today's discontinuity, the chief executive officer of Yahoo. So people are really excited about the kind of achievements that are being made. And some of these achievements are voice recognition, like I can now, 20%, it's estimated, of Google searches are through voice commands rather than sitting and typing in the phrase that you want to search. Then people are doing sentiment analysis, wherein you can examine text or speech and find out the sentiment behind that. Fraud detection, flaw detection, then enterprise resource planning, business analytics, economic analytics, recommendation engines. These are all applications of machine learning, which have been very successful and are being already used in various domains. So all these successes have resulted in people making this kind of a statement. This is from one of the pioneers of the open education. He's one of the founding fathers of Coursera, Andrew Ng, and he's comparing AI with electricity. So if you look at the historical technological development, in the early 1900s, when electricity came, it revolutionized almost all industries. All industries, the way they were working was changed because now there was a clean way of transferring muscle power from one place to the other. Similarly, AI is now providing you means of transferring brain power from the machine. And it is estimated that any task that a person can perform with, say, less than a few seconds of thinking, that can be easily automated. So there'll be a lot of jobs which actually are a series of decisions, each of which falls in this category. And therefore, all those jobs could be easily replaced by machines. That's how we see all these automatic teller machines, ATMs, and we see vending machines. We see now stores that operate without any human being at all. You can just walk into the store, do your shopping, and automatically from your card, the amount gets deducted because you have enough cameras and sensors around, so they know exactly what you put into the cart, how much you have to pay for it, and it deducts. So there is no standing in queues or whatever. Then there are AI systems that scan your, say, for example, retina while you are walking into the airport, and already it is recognized that you are so and you have a valid ticket for a flight within the reasonable time frame of the time that you're entering into the airport. So no standing in queue for check-in and so on. So all these are systems that have already been automated, and technologically it's been shown that this can be done. So now I come to the point of what are the implications of AI for education. When I say that these are jobs which are actually part, which are comprising of parts that can be very easily automated. So we can create an AI system that can replace a person. Should the way we have been teaching our students now change? Because for some aspects, those kind of skills that teaching in school may not be relevant by the time they enter into the job market. Let me give you an example. When we were students, a lot of emphasis was placed on learning by rote mathematical tables. Like you had to know 17 into 17, how much is that? And without even giving a thought, you should be able to repeat that. So tables up to 20 were the norm in schools. Everybody had to know that. But now it's not necessary. Everybody carries a calculator, and those are very cheap calculators, and you can do those multiplications. So why do we need to cram them up? So that's just one example. So are there topics that could be eliminated from the curriculum, or topics that should be added to the curriculum because of the capabilities of AI to solve problems, or at least assist in solving problems? As educators, that is very important for you to understand. Business as usual is not possible. So when we define our learning objectives, what should we teach? How should Shakespeare or any literature be taught now? Or actually, should Shakespeare be taught? What are the learning outcomes? Can all evaluation be MCQ based? Today, what is the significance of questions like describe Falana or discuss Falana or write short notes on Falana? Because I can just type Falana in Google and I can get whatever information I want about that topic. So should we ask such questions? How should we evaluate the learning of the students? Do we need to evaluate the students on their memory and their capability to reproduce the text that they have so painstakingly crammed up over the semester? Does that still make sense? So these are questions that the educators have to think. So it's when you talk about AI in education, it is not only how AI can be used to impart education. We also need to understand what AI can do in the job market, how it is going to change the way we live. Life and living is going to get changed. When life and living are going to get changed, the skill set needed for that is going to change. So what is the skill set that will be required to live in a world wherein we have AI for company? That is the question that educators need to understand and address. Business as usual is not, we need to change. That's the message that I would like to convey. And please, if there are any points of discussion at any time, you can stop me and ask. Oh, 3 participants have raised hands. So can you please ask a question, whatever you want to ask? Or should we address them at the end? Let me go into the chat and see what people have asked. Or you're not.
Chat box.
Dear participants, if you don't want to speak, you can write your questions in chat box, please.
Okay. Should I go into the chat and see the questions now? Or
No, sir. So, sir, you can continue. I'm just noting out the questions. We will start the questioning answering session at the end of this session.
okay, done.
Yes, sir. You can start now.
Okay, so how we teach, however, has yet to change. I mean, this is, I put 2017 because I didn't want to get into this Corona mess. Apart from Corona, apart from COVID, things never changed. From 1900 to 2017, the classroom roughly appeared to be the same. But the problem is that these tech-savvy kids, there have been several studies, it's very hard to hold their attention. Their attention spans are much, much smaller. And they are no longer willing to subjugate themselves to the kind of studies that go back to the 1900s. So are we doing something to improve the emotional intelligence of students? Because this is going to become much, much more important in the coming days, wherein the students of today, when they enter the job market of tomorrow, they're going to interact much more with machines than with people. And their social skills may not be of the level at which they were earlier. So they will need a lot of emotional strength to be able to survive that kind of situation. Are we doing something to improve their spiritual intelligence? Are we doing something to make them better citizens, more responsive to the changing needs of society? And how are we evaluating? So it's often said that college grades and success in life are uncorrelated. That means that it doesn't matter what grade you got in college. You could be the topper and a failure in life, or you could be a bottomer in college and a eminently successful, even a college dropout. We have several famous college dropouts and very successful in life. So does it mean that we are evaluating the wrong thing in schools and colleges? What should we evaluate? The irony is that when we take admission tests, we have a set of MCQs that the student has to answer. And then when the industry people come to recruit them, especially in my faculty, in engineering faculty, they say that these people don't have communication skills, they don't have good personality, and therefore they are not good enough. But they were the ones who solved all those MCQs that you gave them, and that's why they got admitted. That means that your admission criteria were not good. This is true even for exams like IIT JEE. So are we using the wrong criteria? How are we evaluating? What are we evaluating? What should we be evaluating? These are questions that this teaching community that I'm addressing, they are the ones who can change and bring in some sanity into the system. This is a classic curve we have in engineering, that you start with numbers and go to high quality mathematics like advanced calculus in school and college, and finally you end up handling spreadsheets in job. So why did we actually go up to that level? So this is just an aside, not that advanced calculus should not be taught or it's not good. but just as a food for thought. Are we teaching the right things? So, what is the vision of education in an AI world? So, where does AI come in? During 40-year information age, we told computers what to do. I mean, the first thing that you taught in programming was garbage in, garbage out, and so on. But these days, computers are programming themselves. So, rise of code marks the beginning of a new era of augmented intelligence. Many of the AI startups actually originated in universities, and now AI will transform universities. How universities will respond to this AI revolution will profoundly reshape science, innovation, education, and society itself. So these are the grand challenges, AI grand challenges for education. We need to be able to address the 21st century skills, analysis of interaction data, the vast amount of data that we are collecting about learning, social context, learning context, personal interests, and more. That those are key sources of information that must be leveraged in future educational technology research. Universal access to global classrooms. This has been sped up by COVID-19. And today, classrooms are already interconnected the way we are interconnected in this particular Zoom meeting. And therefore, how we can still retain accessibility and personal communication, that is going to be a challenge. Understanding, modeling, and guiding learning in the context of a learner's life outside school is also critical if we are to improve education. Uh, Gone are the days when engineering we used to say 4 saal ki padhai, 40 saal ki kamai. I mean, that's not possible today because the world will be very different even when they graduate at the end of 4 years, and the syllabus that was created for them when they entered the engineering institution was could already be outdated by the time they graduate. That's the speed with which technologies are changing. So we need to create lifelong learning capabilities in the students. So one example of what I'm actually talking about. Many times we design our courses such that, say, for example, in continuous evaluation, the fourth unit will have certain advanced concepts in the subject that are dependent on learning the first and second unit well. So unless you are good at the first and second unit, it will be difficult for you to pick up the concepts in the fourth unit. Now we have our first mates, and in the first mates, there will be several students who score very low, even 0 or 1. But what do we do about them? Nothing. After the mates, the fourth unit will start for everybody. Whether you scored 0 or 1 or you scored, say, 100 on 100, all of you are doing the fourth unit. And you're doing the fourth unit at the speed of the average student. So what was the purpose of that evaluation if there isn't any correction that is taking place? So mastery learning approach is a category of instructional methods which establishes a level of performance that the students must master before moving on to the next unit. And it has been shown that students performing in the 50th percentile in a traditional classroom can perform in the 98th percentile with mastery learning plus one-on-one support. Because why are we not doing this? We're not doing this because it's not possible in a large classroom of 100 students. How can you actually address individual concerns? But if we have AI tutors, that is definitely possible. So for much of the last 25 years, the AI community has been focusing on solving the 2 sigma problem towards creating systems that are as effective as human on one-to-one tutoring. But this has to yet percolate to the level of schools and colleges. However, progress is there, and this is where AI will come in. Major strides in technologies have been made in terms of helping teachers currently teaching in traditional models. Like, for example, the automatic attendance system, automatic evaluation systems. I'm not saying that the teacher is going to get replaced. we need tools to be able to diagnose the issues in the learner's understanding. And I'll describe two items of experience of my own, where the timely guidance, feedback, and explanations are very, very important. So when I was in class 1, my class teacher sent a note asking my father to come to the school and meet her. They were kind of surprised because I was always doing very well, and hopefully I was never a problem child. So why was the father being called? When he went there, the teacher told that, look, your son always does everything right when I give dictation. But when he copies from the board, he makes mistakes. Please get his eyes checked. So that is the personal attention that the teacher gave. So I'm not saying that teachers are going to get replaced. What I'm saying is that there are several domains, several parts of education wherein it is not possible to give individual attention. And there, these AI tools, which can kind of substantiate the teaching in terms of whether you call it inverted classrooms or whatever you want, terminology you want to give, that can really help in enhancing our education to the level at which it is desired in the 21st century. So even with MCQs, this is a mental ability test software. This we presented way back in '98. Now, we create multiple choice questions based tests. And we say that, okay, here are 120 questions that you have to answer in 120 minutes. Are all questions of the same level? Although we give them each one mark or whatever, equal marks, but they're not of the same level. And we give all students the same questions. So suppose there are questions which we would out of them categorize as easy, then what is the point in asking the same student hard questions when he's muffing the easy questions also? Which means that now we have already seen that the student is not worth more than, say, 3 on 10. Now we have to find out through better means whether he or she is worth 0, 1, 2, or 3. We already decided that he or she is not worth more than 10. Then we can change the questions that appear on his or her screen online when we are holding an online MCQ test. It doesn't have to be the same set of questions always to everybody. You can do a better search and better evaluation by focusing on those aspects that the student is not doing well, and in understanding what are the kind of lacuna. So that is the kind of software that we created, and this was appreciated in this international conference on cognitive systems organized by NIIT. Soon, so this is kind of AI. Soon AI will also be able to grade written responses and essays. Today it's still a nascent stage, but yes, soon we'll have AI that's able to grade responses. There are other success stories that we can talk about. Customized experiential learning opportunities, better to maintain better learner motivation and engagement. So those are ideas that AI has implemented. I can give another example of Grammarly, especially the English teachers. We have excellent AI tools that correct grammatical mistakes that are made in written English. And one of them is called Grammarly, and I would encourage you to use that and see what it does. Spelling correction, everybody would have probably already used as part of Microsoft Word. There are also grammar corrections as part of Microsoft Word, and Grammarly is an enhanced version of that. So that brings us to the point as to how we can utilize this tool to speed up the students' learning grammar in schools, so that the time saved can be then utilized to teach maybe higher order thought processes increase the kind of language style that the person has picked. I'm not saying don't teach English. Please don't understand me as saying that. What I'm saying is parts of English teaching that were very important earlier may not be so important because now we have tools that can rectify that part. So you can then move to the next level and try to increase the thought process and the language style and improve things even further. So that's the kind of improvements that AI enable. Now, whether the student is a good student or a bad student, he or she gets the same textbook. Now, suppose we have an AI system. The AI system is able to judge the student and knows how to explain ideas to a particular student because they know the student's background, the skills, and how he or she wants to or likes to learn. So customized kind of learning material curated especially for the individual, that is a great possibility in teaching in the AI world. So we have chatbots that are responding to students' questions, virtual assistants, and so on. Then there are curated course materials, online learning materials, adaptive learning materials. These are all things that are already available, and I would encourage you to have a look at them. Content Technologies is an excellent company that's producing such things. So here I'm talking about Grammarly, then Turnitin to handle the scourge of copying from various sources. We can go through a system of checks and balances wherein you can check whether things have been picked up from somewhere in toto or in part, and then warn the student that that is not kind of permitted. We need to be ethical in our submissions and so on. There are also study and test preparation tools like Quizlet and Kaplan. So, and they are getting smarter and smarter. The system that I described that we have developed here in DI, it also has learning capabilities in the sense that it keeps track of how many students have appeared in that test and also answered a particular question, and then keeps track of whether most of the students have answered it correctly, then it will shift it to the very easy category. And conversely, if most of the students have not been able to answer it correctly, it will shift it to the very hard category and everything in between. So that kind of learning capabilities are also possible, so that the database of questions that you create for curating a multiple choice questions question paper for a particular student, that can then do a good job, just as we do in interviews. After the first 3-4 questions, we've already kind of placed the person as to whether it belongs to the 0 to 3 or 4 to 6 or 7 to 10 category out of 10. And then we do finer search in finding out whether in the 7 to 10 category, does he or she 10 on 10 or 9 on 10 or 8 on 10 or 7 on 10, so on. So further questioning is only at that level. Then you will not ask very simple questions because you already decided that that person belongs to the category of 7 to 10 on 10. Similarly, your multiple choice questions can also be administered, and AI can be used for such purposes. So then there are explorative assistive technologies, assessment technologies that AI is being used for. Learning management systems like the one we are using in our university. People are using Moodle also. So those are the things that also incorporate some elements of AI. Most of it is statistical, but yes, other elements, intelligence, are also there. Now I come to certain philosophical questions, and that's the last topic that I'm going to talk about. Now, we need some research into consequences of AI on the levels and quality of employment and the implications. That is a very, very important topic these days. in the changing world, what will be the quality of employment? What will be the quality of skills required for that employment? And when you're talking about flipping the classroom, we are getting forced to think about where we can add real value. That's what I've been talking about for the past 10, 15 minutes. Because just giving a textbook and expecting the student to read and answer questions based on that in a standard classroom kind of test would no longer suffice in the 21st century. So we need to be able to monitor performance in a better way. We need to be able to teach in a better way. And that's the message that I would like to convey, that the technology of AI will come to your help in doing all this. So thanks for your attention. That's all I had to say. And now I can take questions. So questions, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Whatever you have presented, your knowledge sharing, I think my participants have also enjoyed this session, and they have already sent very much questions. So I think I should ask some questions, sir, because if we will permit the participant to ask the questions, it can be a little disturbing. So
okay, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, some participants are asking about that how can AI be used for evaluation, sir?
I have talked in quite some detail as to, like, you see, when you say AI being used for evaluation, the range of answers can be enormous. Okay, let me give you an example of what's happening in some Chinese schools. First of all, do we really need an exam for evaluation? If we can monitor the attention of the students in the classroom, whether the student, when he or she is sitting in the classroom, is being attentive to the material being covered, we kind of naturally expect that he or she has a certain level of intelligence. And if he or she pays enough attention, would definitely grasp the material. So can we have cameras in the classroom that captures the expressions on the faces of the students and finds out whether he or she is concentrating on the material that's being covered in the class? What is the percentage of time the person is concentrating on the material that's being covered in the class? That could itself be evaluation. So this is a classic example of how AI is getting used in evaluation. Then I talked about curating multiple choice question tests for particular student depending on the performance on the previous questions. Identifying domains. So if you look at all these science tests and math talent tests, they'll give you very detailed reports of which topics the student did well, which topics the student did not do well, and so on. So that's all possible through simple statistics. Now taking that to the next level, how do we reinforce the study material that's provided to the student to ensure that those topics are learned better when the student appears in a similar test next time? So that's how AI can help.
Thank you, sir. Sir, some participants were also asking about that if we can also use AI tools to evaluate subjective type questions.
I talked about that, and I said that soon, yeah, this is yet in the research domain. Okay, let me elaborate. How does AI work? That gives me a chance to explain how it works. So typically, most of the successes in AI are based on what is called as supervised learning. In supervised learning, we give a lot of examples, and through those examples, we train our systems, and those systems are then able to replicate the experience that they have been trained for. So if you're saying that I want to evaluate automatically essays, what it means is that you have trained the system with, say, a huge number of essays given as input, along with the marks that were given for those essays as input. So now it's storing all these examples in a processed form, not necessarily in the text form, in the way they were input, but in a processed form, so that next time you give it an essay that it has to grade, it will essentially, what it will do is it will go through your database of previous essays, see where this closely matches the essay that was provided to it, and give it as many marks as was given by the human examiner in the input data. That's the way things work. Now, is it possible to train your system for the particular topic having enough examples of essays? If you can do that, even today you can do this. That's the point. It's not magic. You have to train it. I hope I have answered that question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the next question is, how can one identify that the particular tool or application is actually based on AI or not?
Yeah. So that's a tricky question. Now, we have an engineering approach. And in engineering approach, the approach is not whether it is based on AI. That is actually an irrelevant question. What is the purpose we want to solve? Is it solving our purpose or not? What it is based on is a secondary matter. If our purpose requires intelligence to solve, then the system must be having some kind of intelligence. Whether traditional AI approach, whether neural networks approach, machine learning approach, what is the approach behind it? That comes only from examining the code, examining the software. But functionality, we can evaluate and judge as to whether it is performing intelligently or not. And the way to do it is by crash testing it. Give it the worst kind of examples and see whether it performs gracefully or not. That's the way to look at it.
Okay, sir. The next question is, how can AI and emotional intelligence can be together or can be balanced together in student life?
Sure.
Yes.
So I've been working in AI for the last 20 years, and I hope I am okay emotionally. So why do we think that these are technology makes a person inhuman or whatever? In fact, if you understand, my favorite way of putting things is, the more we understand computers, the more we understand computer science and our efforts to replicate human intelligence, we understand how tough it is to do that. And then we understand that someone up there is a much better computer scientist than all computer scientists of this world combined, because he or she has produced something that's far exceeding computer capabilities as on today.
Sir, the next question is
It's too
actually,
humble, actually.
yes, sir. As we all know, that our government is basically working for the skill-based curriculum. So some of the participants were asking about that how can AI help in the education which is based on skill-based curriculum?
Yeah. So, two answers. One is that I am coordinating myself a Bachelor of Vocation program in AI and robotics in DEI. So it's a full 3-year skill program in which we are developing skills related to AI and robotics. So that's one answer. The second answer is whether we can use AI tools to develop other skills. So for example, I'll talk about 2 applications that we developed or are in the process of developing. So I had a student who was who had a shop which is considered to be the biggest shop in Agra for saris. So identification of silk. Now, this market is pretty dubious in the sense that when you go to the shop, the most attractive one may not really be the most expensive one, but you can put in a price tag that is very expensive because it is very attractive, and we will get fooled. The material is not expensive, but it is very attractive. So how do you know about that material? How do you? So this is a skill that has to be trained for. Now we developed an image processing solution for that. The student captured high resolution images of all the materials. We created a database of 125,000 images, used 100,000 images for training and 25,000 images for testing. So as I said, in case of essay evaluation, here again, we are using the human knowledge, encapsulating that in a machine learning program, and then developing a tool that has got that skill. Now, once you have given that tool to the student can then examine so many different examples and use the tool to verify whether he or she is correct or not. So training then becomes very simple. You don't need an expert to be around all the time. The basic problem today is we don't have enough experts around to be able to handle the large number of students who need to be skilled. Skilling is one-to-one training. वो सिर पे खड़े होकर देखना पड़ता है क्या कर रहा है, तभी उसको स्किल सिखा सकते हो आप. So if we can develop machine learning solutions, AI solutions, that will then somehow compensate for the lack of teachers who can then pitch in as and when possible.
Yes, sir. The next question is, how can the developing countries like ours country, India, can apply AI in education system, as it can be costly enough?
Yeah.
Many participants were asking about this question, sir.
Yeah. So actually, it is meant for our country. It's the other way around. When you make a car and then you want to make another car, does the second car come cheaper than the first car? Making it cost as much as the design part, yes. But the components and the material cost and the making cost, they are all same. But that's not true in software. You can replicate software 1,000,000 times without any additional expense. Once you have created a software tool or a solution, that solution, I talked about Grammarly. Yeah, so those are tools that can be, software can be replicated as many times. And more the numbers, the lesser the cost. So cost is definitely not an hindrance as far as the long overall perspective goes. Initial cost in terms of establishing computers in schools, yes, that is there. But once you have a computer, having software to teach history, geography, social, and then commerce or maths and science, all those will run on the same computer. And multiple copies of software don't cost more. The cost is not equal to n into the cost of individual pieces. So we have to remember that. That is where the catch is.
Yes, sir. Some of the participants were also asking about the difference between biological and mathematical models.
Say that again. Difference between logical and mathematical models.
Sir, biological and
Biological
mathematical
models.
models. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Biological models. Okay, fine.
Yes.
So I think to rephrase that question, they probably want to ask the difference between how a brain works and how a computer works. Is that the angle in which the question is being asked? I think that's true. Yeah. So brain is a collection of say 100 billion neurons, each neuron being connected to thousands of other neurons. So the information processing and the storage is in these connections. Actually, each neuron is pretty slow. It works in milliseconds. And in our electronics, like the laptop on which I'm sitting and talking to you, the electronics will have switching times that are in nanoseconds. Nanosecond is 10 to the power minus 9 seconds. And millisecond is 10 to the power minus 3. So our neuron individually is a million times slower than the electronic components that you have. However, the kind of parallel processing that has happening in the brain, these 100 billion neurons together are doing something amazing that the computers of today, in many of the pattern recognition tasks, they cannot compete with the computer at all. So although each individual element is much slower, together these 100 billion elements, they are able to do much more. So that is at the physical level. And I'm not even talking about the cognitive and mind level and the higher spiritual level.
Yes, sir. And in the last, there is a question which is asking about the disadvantages of AI in education. This is the last question, sir.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes, sir. It can be threat for the future teachers in terms of unemployment also.
Yeah. I remember in school we used to be forced to write essays like science is a good servant but a bad master and so on. ये सब चीजें तो हमेशा से
Yes.
आती रही हैं.
Yes.
AI is a technology just like any other technology. But first time we are creating a technology that is replacing the intellectual part of the human being rather than the physical part. We have always created technologies like cars and aeroplanes, which help us move faster than our legs will permit. Invented telescopes that will help us see farther than our eyes will see, and so on. So physical and हमारे senses को और हमारे muscular abilities को amplify करने के लिए technology use कर लेते हैं. अभी क्या है कि this is amplifying our brain power. So that is why this apprehension. But having been in computer science for so many years, we are nowhere near human capabilities, number one. Number two, the physical presence of a teacher goes much beyond knowledge transfer. ये जो मॉडल है ना कि एक स्टूडेंट एक डिब्बा है जिसमें टीचर जो है वो नॉलेज ढक्कन खोल के डाल के ढक्कन बंद कर देता है. दिस मॉडल इज ऑफ कोर्स रिप्लेसेबल बाय अ कंप्यूटर, but a teacher is much more than that. A teacher is a role model for the student. That human touch, the way a teacher can motivate a student through love, care, affection, that is not possible. It's impossible to replicate through machines. The teachers will always be important.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for clear all the doubts of the participants. Participant, I think you all have learned a lot with Professor C. Patwardhan. Thank you very much, sir. Now we will begin the next session, which will be taken by Dr. Neha Jain, and it will be started in a few minutes. So please be continued or please be present in the meeting. Don't leave.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot then.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Unmute. Sorry, participant, the mic was on mute mode. So I just repeat. Good afternoon, all the respected person connected over here in today's workshop on fundamentals of artificial intelligence and its application in education. After the very informative session of Professor C. Patwardhan, we move on to our second session of the workshop. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce our expert of session 2, Professor N.K. Mishra. Professor N.K. Mishra is HOD in Department of MCA, Hindustan College of Management and Computer Studies. Sir is having more than 20 years of experience of teaching AI at PG level. He is certified AI professional and his research areas are machine learning and development of AI. Welcome you, sir. I would like to call Professor N.K. Mishra to share some knowledge on application of AI in education with all of us. Sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the nice introduction. I think I'm audible to all. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay, right, ma'am. So let's begin with this application of AI in education. I thank you all the organizers for giving me the chance to talk with the teachers, because I'm also a teacher. So can I share the presentation, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can share.
Okay, just a few minutes, ma'am. Ma'am, as the net connectivity is an issue, so can I switch off my the camera?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Right, just a minute.
Yeah.
I think my slide is visible to all.
Sir, visible.
Right, ma'am. So I think the artificial intelligence is not a very new word. More than 70 years has been the time which has been taken in research, conducting research in AI. And this is just like, this can be compared as the discovery of fire and the electricity, because the kind of revolution that these two things have had bring in the world. Similarly, the AI development of AI has done for the world. AI might be the single largest technology, a revolution of our lifetimes, and with the potential to disrupt almost all aspects of human existence. This AI has been used in almost nowadays in every sphere of life. We are using this AI, knowingly or unknowingly. Many industries are investing in cognitive and AI solutions. A global forecast says that around 50.1% annual growth rate of investment is there, and it will reach 57.6 billion US dollar by 2021 in the AI field. As a result of virtually unlimited computing power and the decreasing cost of data storage, we are on the cusp of the exponential age of AI as organizations learn to unlock the value trapped in vast volume of data. So the availability of the data, and because of this development of the internet and being used by almost everybody, and this data has been used for the development of this AI. The speedy development of AI is just because the availability of data now. In the earlier days, the data was not available very easily because most of the things was manual. And so it was very difficult to train any machine or anything to do the task that is being easily done by the human beings. But nowadays, we have volumes of data available, and we can use those data for our research, for developing some applications, and that will make great solutions for the problems that is right now we have. Even AI enables machines to act with higher levels of intelligence and emulate the human capabilities of sense, comprehend, and act. like computer vision and audio processing enable the machines to actively perceive the world around them. NLP and inference engines can enable AI systems to analyze and understand the information collected. So a machine can not only comprehend can visualize the environment around it, it can also understand the languages that is being used by the people, and then it can give you more solutions for in the education field. Again, AI's adaptive and dynamic nature and accelerated development, AI got a profound impact in the education services. As education form the basis of all knowledge and progress, inclusion of AI in updating and empowering education system has resulted in better impartment of knowledge and fair evolution of assessments. We can use AI for the impartment of knowledge and the evaluation of the students as well. According to surveys, 75% of teachers believe that printed books will be entirely replaced by digital learning tools. Again, AI will be used in this. Although in India, the importance of AI-enabled education sector is amplified, as you know, that 25%, most of the people, most of the generation is youth population below age of 25, which is half of the population of the country. And AI will play a huge role in revolutionizing the education sector from head to toe. Although we may not see humanoid robots acting as a teacher within the next decade, but still many AI-based projects are already in progress in the India and the worldwide to help the students and teachers get more out of the educational experience. Rather than learning in general or based on society's understanding of importance, AI can help in keeping track of close track of the students, the current trends and redesigning of education at every step. AI can help you. AI is also being implemented and utilized in administration, learning, tutoring, grading, and assessment, as already been told to you all by Professor Padmanan Saab. So almost if you see, this AI can help the teacher to monitor, to do all kind of testing, evaluations, assessment. Not only that, even from the planning of the course to designing of the course, and then implementing it, then evaluating and making a student skillful, this AI can help. The amalgamation of technology with innovative learning processes will definitely revolutionize the education. India, being one of the leading developing countries, is following the trend and adopting this innovative technology in education, but still this in India, AI is not being used as it should be. Nearly 160 billion US dollar is spent globally by schools on education technology up to 2016. And now it is growing up to 17% annually through 2020. So India is definitely improving adoption of technology in education, but not at the speed required. As you know, India needs these kind of solutions to reduce the cost of education and to increase the reachability of the education to the far-flung areas. Now, almost all boards of education in India are including AI in their syllabus. So it's a good news, because if the AI is being included in the syllabus of all the boards, definitely the students will be able to understand this technology and will use for its own betterment. Similarly, if you see percent-wise figure, gross enrollment ratio is 97% at elementary level and 80% at secondary level in Indian education, which is a substantial growth resulted with efforts of both central and state governments. But the problem is being a very good rate of growth in enrollment, but still the problem is how to retain these students. So still the problem is of low retention and poor learning outcomes, which is still putting a bad impact on this whole effort done by the central government and the state government. So the government are thinking how to increase the retention rate of the students and how to improve their knowledge so that they can better, they can actually gain the skills and they can do better in their career.
Sir, sorry for interruption.
Yeah, ma'am.
We are able to see only first slide of your presentation.
Right, ma'am. I'm just giving a background how this AI can be used in education, and then I'll move on to the theory of this AI, basically
Okay, then
the
it's fine.
history of the AI. Right, ma'am. So although we have many AI tools that is available, but still there are some are free and some are costly. But naturally, if we are using this AI in our education system, it is going to put a great impact on this education system, and it will definitely be a very beneficial for this. Now, if you see, artificial intelligence is nothing but we are just making machines which can mimic like a human being, or which can display some kind of intelligence like a human being. So, although there are so many definitions given by some researchers, some scientists like Richard Knight, Peter Norvig, and Stuart Russell, they have given their own definitions. So there are many definitions depending on how you, what is your goal for the artificial intelligence, what kind of work you want to get from the artificial intelligence. Accordingly, it has been defined. But if we see broadly, AI has been defined on 4 different blocks. One is thinking like a human, acting like a human, thinking rationally, and acting rationally. So these are the 4 main blocks on which AI has been defined by most of the authors. If we go for this, the history of AI, the AI has been, this term has been coined in 1956 at the Dartmouth College in a workshop, and that workshop has gone for a long time and been attended by the renowned scientists, John McCarthy, Alan Newell, Herbert Simon, and Marvin Minsky and Arthur Samuel. All these people have attended this workshop, and this term artificial intelligence has been coined there. And since then, this the persons like Alan Newell and Herbert Simon, they have worked a lot in this artificial intelligence. And now what we are getting is the hardcore effort of these people. So if we see, as I said, that this AI is not a new term. So in 1943, McCulloch and Walter Pitt has published a paper, A Logical Calculus of Ideas Eminent in Nervous Activity. And this paper has first proposed a mathematical model for building a neural network. And in this neural network, they're trying to use this AI. Then in 1949 also, Hebb has given some rules for the AI, and that is called the Hebbian rule, which is very important model for the AI. Then in 1950, Alan Turing publishes Computing Machinery and Intelligence, proposing what is now known as Turing test. And actually this Turing test is a very good test, and it identifies whether a machine or a particular model can be called intelligent or not. So what it does basically, it puts the machine in one place, hidden from the person who is asking the questions, and a human being is also answering the same questions. But human being and machines both are hidden from the investigator. So investigator will keep on asking the questions, and the answers will be coming both from the machine and the human being. And if the investigator cannot differentiate that whether the answer is coming from the machine or it is coming from the human being, then that machine will be called that it is artificially intelligent, and it will pass the Turing test. So this Turing test is very important in understanding whether the machine is like somebody in the previous session asked, how will I know that whether the software is using AI or not? So we can ask the software to pass this Turing test, and if it is passing, then we will say that it is AI enabled. Then in 1952, Arthur Samuel developed a self-learning program to play checkers. In 1954, the IBM machine translation experiment automatically translated 60 carefully selected Russian sentences into English. So, and in 1956, as I said, John McCarthy was working on this AI. In 1958, the Lisp programming language has been developed, and Lisp is being used for developing AI machines. Then in 1959, Herbert Simon and Jesse Shaw developed the General Problem Solver, also called a GPS, a program designed to imitate human problem solving. Then in 1963, John McCarthy starts an AI lab at Stanford. In 1966, Automatic Language Processing Advisory Committee reported by the US government details the lack of progress in machine translations. One more thing that I want to tell you, that this AI has seen so many AI winters also, because the expectation from the AI was very high of the industry and the people at that time. And when those expectations could not be fulfilled by this AI, the industries have stopped investing in this AI. So many winters has been seen by this AI, and through many winters it has come to now, which is really very promising. So nowadays maximum investment is going on in this AI technology only, but earlier few times the people was not very much interested in AI, and almost I can say 10 years nobody was working in this AI field because the investment was not there in this. So in 1969, as you can see, Dendel program in Mycin was developed. It was a decision support system and being used for diagnosing the blood infections. Then in 1972, Prolog has been developed. This was also a programming language for AI systems development. So this way, many years of experimentation, research, this AI has come to this place. That is what this whole development has been seen through different years. Different people have worked a lot, and they have come up with the good programming solutions. They tried to remove the problems with the AI systems, and they came to different good solutions rather. So if we see like in 1997, IBM's Deep Blue beat the world chess champion Garry Kasparov. So this was the time again when the people started investing in this AI field. As you can see the chatbots, you can see the Google search engine, you can see IBM's Watson, which are supporting the people to develop the AI systems. You can develop your own chatbots by using the IBM Watsons. Like suppose if you are working in education, you can develop your own question answering chatbots for your students, and it's a very easy. Now you don't have to write even codes. Only you should have the knowledge of your problem domain if you really want to work in this. So in 2014, like Google makes the first self-driving car to pass a state driving test, and then Google's DeepMind's AlphaGo defeat the world champion Go player Lee Sedol. So these were again the very good developments in this AI field. How it works, this AI system works, it actually replicates or simulates the human intelligence in machines. AI is a computer system able to perform some tasks that every human being can do very easily. But if those work can be done by a machine, then we say that it is artificially intelligent machine. And how this works, actually, it was based on some rules and some like Prolog or Lisp you can use to develop those AI systems. But they were having very limited scope of work. They cannot be used for all kinds of systems. Now, if I go for this AI types of AI systems, then there are two categories actually. One is on the basis of the applications, and one is on the basis of technology. So if we discuss on the basis of applications of AI, they can be categorized as reactive machines, machines with limited memory, machines with using the theory of mind, and the self-aware machines. So if we go into the details, reactive machines are also categorized as the weak AI systems. They are not very strong AIs, and they perceive the world directly and act on what it sees. It has no memory. Only whatever it is getting the stimulus from the outside world, it is on the basis of some rules. It is only responding to those things. Like a robot. If a robot has got some obstacle in front of it, the robot will apply the rule and it will remove or jump over that particular obstacle. That is what the reactive machines are, not more than that. So they have very limited, like the chess games. There are certain rules. So whatever the current chessboard position is, it will apply its rules, and then it will see that what action should it take to win the game. That is what the reactive machines are. Then we have the machines with limited memory. They are also similar to reactive machines, but they have been added with some historical data, which will help them to take decisions. And almost all machines that we are using today are machines with limited memory, which are powered by datasets. Datasets are there. And whenever they want to take some decision, they go for the dataset, they search, and then from that dataset, they take the decisions or they take actions. So AI systems using deep learning and are trained by large volumes. You must be hearing these words, deep learning, neural networks. So deep learning is basically using this kind of data sets to train the train AI machines. And nowadays, most of the work is being done in the deep learning also, because we have voluminous amount of data. Like we can use the deep learning models to categorize or to locate the objects. Like if we give the images of hotels, like if we give image of Taj Mahal and image of, let's say, Lal Killa, then we can identify that which image is of Lal Killa and which image is of Taj Mahal just by inserting the images. So that is what deep learning can do, and it can identify the images. Then we have the machines with the mind. Those machines represent an advanced class of technology and exist only as a concept. Right now, still we are in infancy state and we have not developed this kind of system. But this kind of AI requires a thorough understanding of people's and things, feeling and behavior within an environment. Theory of mind is a critical technological improvement that sorts people's emotions, sentiments, and thoughts. So nowadays, the AI ML companies, they are working in India and they are working on these fields. Like they are doing some sentiment analysis, they are doing some emotional analysis. They are also trying to incorporate the human beings' feeling in the machines, so that machines can respond accordingly. Like we can make some robotic psychologist who can talk to you through the question answering. It can understand your feelings and it can give you solutions also. So, but still, these all are in infancy state. Most of the companies are working in this and they are providing the solutions. Like a real world example of the theory of mind is Kismet. Designed in the late 1990s, Kismet can mimic human emotions and recognize them. But it can only mimic, right? But it cannot actually work like a human. Just like a human can understand an emotion of a person, that kind of understanding this system doesn't have. Still, the work is going on. Then we have self-aware AI, which is the exact thing that is portrayed in AI movies like Matrix. And if you see robots, then we have an Indian film where Chitti was the robot. So they were self-aware AIs. And basically, they may destroy the humans also, or they can be a very good companion of human also. Like you must have seen in Robot 2.0 and Robot 1.0, where Chitti was in one. Chitti was a villain. In another, Chitti was also friendly to human being. So that kind means it depends on you how, or it depends that how whether your machine will help you or it can destroy you. But if you are going for this self-aware development, then that may be a problem. And most of the scientists who are the pioneer in AI field, they are trying to ask this community, the AI development community, to stop whatever we have achieved right now. And they are warning the AI community to do the research and development only up to maybe maximum with the theory of mind AI. They are stopping, they are telling that self-aware machines, if they are going to make, then that can be dangerous for the human beings. Like Elon Musk and the physicist Stephen Hawking, they are consistently warning people that you should not go for self-aware stage. Now, according to the technology, artificial intelligence can be divided or categorized into the artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence. So if we go for this ANI, or artificial narrow intelligence, it is also called the weak AI, and which is one of the most frequently experienced types of AI that we are using. And every AI machine we use and see today is from this field, which operates under a limited set of constraints. That is, they are based on the rules. For example, voice recognition AI is used to predict the people's voice based on the data set, but they are for a specific purpose. If I want to make a AI system which can recognize the voice of, let's say, Tamil, then I cannot use the same AI software for recognizing the voice of UP. So that's the problem with the narrow intelligence, that they are always made with a certain specific purpose. They cannot be a generalized. They cannot understand or recognize the voice of all area. So deep learning models constitute the limited memory type, and similar task could be a case of reactive machines. So narrow intelligence can be reactive machines or with the limited memory. Then we have the general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. And this is a strong AI, which allows a machine to apply the knowledge and skills in different contexts. This more closely mirrors human intelligence by providing opportunities for autonomous learning and problem solving. So AI can generally can successfully perform any intellectual task that a human being can do. So we are seeing these things in the sci-fi movies, the Hollywood movies, where they are showing that the robots are talking like a human being, they are understanding the emotions, they are acting accordingly. So that is all that we are seeing is the artificial general intelligence. Then we have artificial super intelligence, which is something more advanced than the strong AI, and which is still the people are few people are working in that direction. And they will not only replicate the multifaceted intelligence of human beings, but will be extremely better at everything, because they can process the information with more speed than the human being. Now, you must be heard one word that is very getting very famous, is the quantum computing. So this quantum computing technology will make this processing much faster. Okay, maybe almost 4 times or maybe 8 times faster processing you will get, maybe within 10 years of time, because now the science community is working on this developing quantum computers. So when the computers will have that kind of processing speed, that kind of analysis power, that kind of decision making capabilities, then definitely they will actually supersede the human race. So that will be the problem, and that is why the people are warning for this artificial super intelligence stage. Now, if we see the application of AI, the AI is being used in almost, as I said, in all sphere of life, in the banking sector, in agriculture sector. In banking sector, we are having chatbots in SDFC Bank, in ICICI Bank, in SBI Bank. If you go to their site, you can get your problem solved with the chatbots. You can give them the questions, they will answer you. Whatever you want to perform, you don't have to visit the banks and waste your time in waiting for the person to attend you. You can directly go and one-to-one interaction you can do. So you can get all kind of problems solved by the chatbots. So that is what the banking services are using. Not only that, banking services are also using this AI to check the frauds in credit card, frauds in payments, frauds in checks. So they are using these AI systems in banking. Then in the agriculture field, as you know, we are using Internet of Things. Internet of Things is again a new technology, which is AI enabled. And in Internet of Things, the sensors are being used. The sensors which can sense the humidity of the soil, and accordingly they can process the information, and they can draw the attention of the people for watering the soil, or different types of activities can be done through those AI systems. Then the most important, the healthcare, as you have seen in pandemic of this COVID, the robots have served in many hospitals in Gurgaon and Noida, and they were giving the patients medicines, food. Not only that, they are also chatting with them, because during that time nobody wanted to go to attend the patient physically. So robots used to talk to those patients so that they can feel comfortable, they should not feel alone. So, and not only that, the in healthcare, the AI has been used in number of things, from medication, the surgeries, Okay, now as you know, the robots can perform the surgeries. So healthcare also using this AI application. In the gaming, as the chess playing, the Go playing, AlphaGo AI system can work for this Go playing. So in gaming also we are using AI applications. Like if you play a game, the AI software will automatically tell you at what level you can perform, and it can accordingly raise the levels of the game. So AI can be used in gaming also, and gives a real life experience actually. Then AI is also used in space exploration, autonomous vehicles like self-driving cars, manless aircrafts, manless helicopters, right? So these all are the autonomous vehicles. Then the chatbots, uh, artificial creativity, like in arts, in music, even in writing the books, we can use the artificial intelligence softwares through which we can develop our music. Now we don't need any music director. Even AI systems can develop the new tunes. So that is what being done here. That is also an application of AI. So this AI can be used in marketing also. Like recommender systems are there. They are being used in Amazon, Flipkart, and many number of e-commerce sites, which tells you that what is your choice. If you ask them that I want the red color shirt, so they will show you different red colors shades there, and you can choose one of them. So you don't have to even go to anywhere. You can get everything done on your computers using these AI enabled softwares. So recommender system is a very good example which is being used for this in this marketing and business community. If I talk about the applications of AI in education, so the AI can support the teachers not only in administrative task but also in getting the evaluation done by the AI softwares. So if teacher are using the AI and technology in their teaching system, then they can better support their students, and they can better get of the actual performance of the student. Then the students can also go for individualized learning if they feel that, okay, I want to learn something. As you must be knowing that the syllabus is always developed by taking care of 80% of the student in a class. Those 80% students are always are actually in middle. The top 10% of student and the bottom 10% of students, the syllabus is never designed for them. So those top 10% students always feel that they are not able to fully utilize their potential, and that is why they lose their interest in education, and that is what there is a low retention rate. Similarly, the bottom 10% student feel so much difficulty in education, they are not able to even cope up with their syllabus, so they also lose their interest. So only the in between 80% students are only there who try to understand the syllabus, and they try to cover the syllabus. So this individualized learning softwares, the AI enabled softwares, can be used to take care of all these 100% students. This top 10 students can be recommended with some good software, with maybe their level of difficulty can be improved. And for bottom 10% students, we can use tutoring support classes, which can help them to cope up with their syllabus. So if the teacher is using AI in their teaching system, then they can cover the entire class. So bottom 10, top 10, and the middle 80%. So this 80-20 all can be covered through the system. Then we have a universal access. Now in new education policy, although they are trying to incorporate this universal access of education, the students will be allowed to move from one university to another university, or wherever they are finding good teachers in the subjects, they can be allowed to move. So, but through AI systems also, we can access the education universally. If I find that MIT is having good courses in machine learning, I can online connect to them, and I can actually access the materials, their classes, everything I can do with the help of AI. Then we have automated admin tasks, like the students copy evaluation or their attendance marking, or some other administrative tasks can also be automated through the AI systems. Then we have the tutoring supports outside the class. Suppose you find that few students are very weak and they are not able to cope up with the syllabus. So what we can do, we can provide them this tutoring system, and they can get the help outside the class also. So teachers and AI, as I already told that in the education from the primary to the higher level, the teachers can take help of this AI, and AI can efficiently be used in the personalization and streamlining the admin tasks to allow the teachers to give the time to the students. And teachers' time is very important for a student students, as the emotional support, the motivations, everything can be drawn from the teacher's attention to individual students. So instead of wasting their time in this marking the attendance, putting their marks on the seats, and doing some kind of analysis that who is strong, who is weak, the teacher can more focus in making the students try to listen to, try to learn, and motivate them to go for the new things, to learn new skills that can be done by a human being, that can be done by a teacher. So teachers are not going to be replaced by the machines, but rather the teachers will have its actual role. Always the students learn, always students do the best, but the teachers are only the guiding person. He cannot be a person who teach each and everything to the student, but he can actually motivate the students to learn something. That is very important. So by leveraging the best attributes of the machines and the teachers, the vision for AI in education is one where they work together for the best outcome for the students. Then differentiated and individualized learning. So adjusting learning based on an individual student's particular needs. Like if somebody is good in computers, but he is not good in some other subjects, so he can be given the skills only of the computers, he can do better in that. So the learning can be adjusted with the help of AI. But AI will also allow a level of differentiation that is impossible for teachers who have to manage many number of students in each class. As you know, in a class nowadays, 68 to 70 students are there. So teachers are having very difficult time to access each and to assess every student in the class. So as AI gets more sophisticated, it might be possible for a machine to read the expression that poses on a student's face, and that indicates they are struggling to grasp a subject or not. If the student is able to understand the subject, the AI will actually read the face and will tell, okay, the student is okay with the topic. And if the student is not okay with the topic, the machine will tell the teacher that, okay, such and such person is getting problem in this topic. So AI machines can help the teacher in this also. He can differentiate who is the top 10% learner, who is the 80% middle person, and who are the bottom 10% of a student. As I said that education has no boundary, so global classrooms can be attended by the students, and even though they are speaking in different languages, but we have the systems which can solve all these barriers, and the students can be given the access to all these the educations which are available across the world. So not only in India, the students of India can learn from outside the world also. Automated admin task, as I said, that the tests, homeworks, grading systems, their attendance, everything can be done automatically. So teacher will get some time to spend with the student to understand his or her own personal problems, so that he can motivate, and he can just try to make him listen to the class. Tutoring support outside the class also. AI can support the student outside the class, like Professor Patwardhan was saying that few students who are weak, so they can be given these extra AI tutorial classes, and they can very well teach a student. So this AI cannot actually replace the teacher, because the innovation, the creativity, this is only in the teacher. The only thing is that the AI can help the teacher to do the things, to support him or her to better mentor the students, to better enable the students to learn something new. If you see artificial intelligence in education industry, there are many companies who are helping. Various industries are participating. They are developing the AI ML softwares, which can help the education industry. As you know, education is the base for all the development of any country or the world. So every industry is investing in their companies to develop some softwares for this AI in education. Some of the leading AI companies are like Newton, Cogni, Querium, Century Tech, KidSense, Carnegie Mellon Learning, Kidaptive, Blipper, Thinkers Mass, Wally, Quizlet. All these are the companies who are actually developing some softwares, and developing products for helping the education system and the students. Like Nuance, they make speech recognition software that is used by the student and faculty. The technology can transcribe up to 160 words per minute and is especially helpful for students who struggle with writing or having limited mobility. Like somebody was asking that what is the software that can be used for the handicapped people. So as I said that now we have the AI systems and the student can study. We have seen also during the pandemic that you need not to come to the college, and through the Zooms and various platforms that WebEx, Zooms, Google Meet, you have Microsoft Teams. There are many platforms available in the market through which you can conduct the classes, and not only you can conduct the classes, but you can do some kind of analysis also. You can try to find out that whether the students, how much students are interested, which topics they are putting more effort, how they are answering. We have the poll systems where we can ask the question in between the session also, and we can get the solutions from the students, and then we can gauge that how much really they are putting their sincere effort in studying this lecture. So all these are available nowadays in the market. So even if the person who cannot move from one place to another place, he can sit at his home and then learn everything. Even virtually, he can attend all the classes, all the conferences, all the workshops, and even there are some softwares. You need not to have the costly computers also or costly infrastructure. Like, the cloud computing is available, and cloud computing is not only providing you the infrastructure, the infrastructure support, they are also providing the software supports. So just by sitting at the home with a simple computer, you can do everything. So this software also enhances spelling ability and word recognition. Instructors can use this software to dictate lectures and for later use or catalyze tedious tasks like document and email creation. So Nuance is one of the company which is helping in this. Then we have Newton, which is creating the adaptive learning technology for higher educations. Then we have Cogni, which is making AI-based products for the K-12 platform. Actually, K-12 platform is up to the 12th class. And then for higher education institutes also, they are developing the softwares. And these all AI-based based products are helping them to educate, to make them learn the new skills, which may be not in your syllabus. Maybe that you want to, that maybe you really want to go into that particular area, but that is not in your syllabus. Maybe that the infrastructure is not available in your university or college. Maybe that hardware and that software is not available in your college or institution. But if you really want to learn, now these softwares, these will help you to learn all those things. So this Cogni is also making the softwares which can be used for corporate training programs also. Then we have Aquarium, which is also using AI to deliver customizable STEM tutoring lessons to high school and college students. By analyzing answers and length of time for the step it took to complete tutoring sessions, Aquarium AI gives teachers insight into the students' learning habits. So how much they are able to focus, how much time they are able to devote, on which topic the students are putting more effort. So everything can be done through these AI systems. So these companies are helping to develop in these kind of systems. Then we have a Century Text platform, which utilizes cognitive neuroscience and data analytics to create personalized learning plan and reduce workload for instructors. So you don't have to tell the student that, okay, how much you have to learn in this week or in the month. It will automatically make everything feasible and possible for the teachers. They can use these softwares. And actually this Century will also give the teacher access to resources, which will reduce their time spent in planning, grading, and managing the homework. So administrative tasks can also be done automatically by these products developed by Century platforms. Then we have the KidSense, which is developing educational AI tools designed specifically for the children. And the company's speech-to-text tool uses AI to transfer a child's speech into text in order to take notes, practice vocabulary, or even take tests. The students used to spend much of the time in making the notes. So now they don't have to waste their time in making the notes. All these notes will be automatically prepared. So whatever he will speak, though they will be automatically converted into the text form. Then we have the Carnegie Learning. Again, they are using the AI and machine learning to help the student develop a deeper conceptual understanding of maths. So there are few softwares, AI-based softwares available for different subjects also. They are also containing the AI algorithms that help educational institutions collect data and increase learner engagement. Like if you are teaching some subject and you are finding that the students are not reading that particular topic, let's say there are some introduction part and the students is already at the top 10 level, so he will not go through those introductory part. So maybe that you can provide something which can suit to their potential. So it's always better to see the potential of the student, then only you can make him interested in the class. If you are telling the students very basic things and your students are very maybe high performing, they will not take interest. If you are telling the students something which is a very advanced topic, but the students are at the middle level or they are 10% bottom level students, then they will also not take interest. So the teacher has to plan their sessions, plan their classes in such a way that the entire class can be covered, not in terms of quarters that, okay, 25% or 50% or 75% students can be engaged. So the engagement of the students is a very tough task for the teacher. So these AI products will also help the teacher in engaging the students by planning the course, by planning the topics in such a way that they can easily motivate the students to take their classes. Then we have the Blipper, which combines the computer vision intelligence technology and augmented reality to enhance the way students learn in the classrooms. And the interactive materials being subject like geography, biology, physics, all these can be made by, because it is using virtual 3D models. So that is more attractive and the students take interest in reading these topics. We have Thinkster Math, is a tutoring program developed for use on laptops you can, or tablets or desktop you can use. This can be used by class 8 up to the 8th students. So these are all platforms. Then we have Volleys. Volley has AI-based knowledge engine, constantly synthesize course and quiz results, as well as briefings to find knowledge gaps among the employees enterprises. So they can be used in companies also for checking the technical skills of the person. We have Quizlet, which is also an online destination for studying and learning tools. Now we have some examples of AI products which are being used in the education system, and still the development is going on in these products, like CRAM 101. And this product is basically what it does, it customizes the textbook to the personalized learning. So suppose you want to learn from different books, but you don't want to learn the entire book of those subjects. So this will help you to take the important things, or maybe some concept from one book, some concept from the another book, and then they will actually mix and merge, and then they will produce you. So this is also a very important software being used by the students. Like if I want to go for machine learning, I need to learn some part of the maths, some part of the statistics, some part of the computer science, and maybe some part of biology. So all these things, and some part of the domain also. So what I will do, I'll not read the entire maths book. I will not read the entire statistics book. I will only read those concepts, those topics which are really required in my machine learning project. So it will save my time and it will better plan my learning process. So there we can use CRAM 101. Then we have a Mica, which is a personalized virtual tutor, easily adaptable to the students' need and provides immediate feedback to help them learn. So in class, if you are giving the immediate feedback, then the students can be benefited. Because if you keep on observing the student and tell him at the end of the examination that you are weak, then it is not going to help. But if when he or she is appearing in the test, you immediately give the feedback that your performance is below average or your performance is average, then the students can improve, and you can provide him the outside tutoring classes to help them to improve himself or herself. Then that will give you better results instead of giving the late feedback. So immediate feedback is provided by the Mica. Then we have third space learning product. Basically, this pairs struggling with maths students, and really it works very good for students who are weak in maths. Again, this is because maths is treated as a very difficult subject in the student. So most of the products are supporting the student to learn mathematics in a very creative way. Then we have as I said, there are few products which are open source, freely available, and there are few which are really you have to pay some cost. So this open source math tutoring app you can use. Similarly, like sir was also talking about the Grammarly. If you really want to go for the English language grammar, then you can use Grammarly. It will help you a lot to learn the grammar. So there are so many products available for different subjects. Like we have Front Row. This is also a AI based product. Then we have Smart Ed. This is also a customizable textbook. The same thing. It takes the content from different textbooks, and see, this is one reason that the textbooks are needed to be digitalized. As I said, that 75% of the teachers believe that now the printed books will not be used more. Why? Because if you have a hard copy of printed books, AI systems. But if you have digital copies of those books, just by scrolling through, maybe the world's best books can be combined together to make a new subject. From some books you can take some good mathematical concepts. From some book you can take some good physics concept. So this we can do with the help of these Smart Ed or those products. Like CRAM 101. People are using in India also this product. This unique source to explore questions and concepts together. The site has over 80 million users from 35 countries. So you don't have any boundary in getting the knowledge. So from different countries, good people are connected on these platforms, and you can learn from them. Like social media is and you can directly register and you can connect with them. And there are different the blogs and the forums are on different areas, like for research in computer science, research in biology, research in chemistry. There are different blogs, and there are different discussion forums. And if you post any question, they give you the answers. Now you must be surprised that from the worldwide, millions of people are connected to those discussion forums, those blogs. Then how they are getting instantly the answers? The answer is there are some AI systems behind those discussion forums, behind those blogs, who are actually answering your questions. There is no human being at the back who is answering the questions, because human being cannot answer millions of questions at the same time. So what happens? There are some AI systems, they are working in the background, they are learning from your questions and answers, and they are also giving new answers to you by learning from those data. So Brindley is also doing the same kind of thing. There are some Indian apps which are also using AI for education, like NGuru, Khan Academy, Next Curriculum, Notes Generation. Then you have Byju's. So all they are using these kind of things. You must have seen in Byju, if you have purchased for your children, you must be seeing that Byju is giving you analytical results that your children is studying which subjects more than the other subject. What is their learning graph? What is their performance level? So they are giving you in terms of the graphs, in terms of tables, in terms of percentage, right? How much time your children is devoting on the study. Everything they can give you on a click of the mouse. So that is what you are getting, and that is not a simple software. It's not a simple software. It's a AI-based softwares, which is actually giving you doing some kind of analysis at the background. Like Byju, we have now the Byju has the courses for the 12th up to 12th student also. They are also have courses for IS preparation, for JE preparation, for CAT, MAT. They have different types of courses they are offering. And all these courses are AI enabled, so that you can get the analysis, you can see your performance, you can see the feedback instantly. You don't have to wait. And by seeing the feedback, you can understand that which topic you are weak in, which topics, and which subjects you have to cover more. Then you have a NGuru, which is also an adaptive on-the-go self-learning English and communication skill app, which provides a variety of industry-specific English courses. Parveen sir was very rightly saying, I am also in engineering college, and I see that there are good companies who are coming and offering 20 lakhs packages also, but the students are not getting selected. The reason is the student has, sometimes the student do not have those skills, but most of the time I have seen that the students lack in the communication skill and the personality traits, different than the technological skills that they are gaining in these engineering colleges. And on the communication skill, they have to work. On their personality traits, they have to work by themselves. Nobody can teach somebody that, okay, how to speak or how to behave. It is the student who has to work on it. So there are some apps, there are some softwares on which can be used by the students to develop these things. Even the students can learn different languages also. As you know, I mean, in this MCA course, and IT people has to go to different countries because their clients are in different companies. So they should know different languages also. They help them a lot. Like if they are going to China or Japan or Singapore or some different countries, they need to learn their languages also. So that will help them a lot. Then we have a Khan Academy also. They are also providing the e-learnings through a huge number of articles and videos. Nowadays, we have so many YouTube channels through which we can learn different technologies. Like if I want to learn in deep learning, if I want to learn machine learning, so I can go to those sites and those YouTube channels, and then we can get the content, materials, and learning. Next gen curriculum is also there, which helps the candidates. This is a platform which allows educators and the students to sell and purchase academic notes. So there are a few things that I also want to focus on. Like we have some AI products, like there's a Emma, which is developed in 2017, and beta version was developed at that time. It is used for plagiarism checker, as a plagiarism check. Now, let's say there are some documents and you want to see some student has written some essay. Now, how will you check that that essay has been actually written by the student? So you can use this Emma as a checker. What it does actually, it takes the person's writing contents, it analyzes it, and then understand that how that student is writing. If the student has written something, then it will match the pattern from the previous writing essays, and then it will compare whether it has been copied or it is his own creation. So Emma can be used. Similarly, we have Miss Jill Watson, which works like a teacher assistant, and basically it is a forum with more than 10,000 questions, and Miss Jill Watson is giving answer to all. Miss Jill Watson is not a woman or anybody. Actually, it is a software, AI-based software, which is answering all the questions on that forum. And basically it works on the basis of IBM Watson platform. As I said, IBM Watson platform invite you to create chatbots for purpose of online question and answer sessions. Like if you are teaching physics, you can develop your own chatbot. If you are teaching, let's say, social studies, you can make your own chatbots. So different chatbots can be developed by using the IBM Watson platform. You need not to write any coding. There are some steps. You can use those steps to develop these chatbots. Like similarly, we have GradeScope, which actually used to grade the student's paper and make it fast and efficient. It is developed by 4 Berkeley graduates, and basically this can save 90% of the time of the teacher. So instead of dedicating his time in grading the student, what he can do, he can engage the students, give them knowledge, and inspire them to listen and learn without wasting their time in grading the tests, checking the papers, right? So if they are using AI technology while imparting education, then they can save their time for all these tasks that can only be done by a teacher, that cannot be done by a robot or any AI software. So the teacher will get his time to do his own task instead of wasting the time in doing something which is not actually a teacher's task, right? So that is how the student can be benefited if we are using this AI. From my side, it's the content that I want to tell. There was a problem in network connectivity here, so I tried to put less number of photographs on my slides so that it can be easily visualized by you. So if anybody is asking question, you are most welcome, and thanks for listening attentively. So ma'am, can we have some questions if the candidates have asked?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your very informative talk. There are some queries of the participants. It would be
Yes,
great
ma'am.
to have answers from you. I will ask one by one.
Yeah, ma'am.
The first query was what are the major ethical issues in the use of AI?
Right. So if you are using AI for the betterment of the student, definitely there's no ethical issues at all. So when you are using any technology for the betterment of the human being, for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of the country and the world in turn, so there's no ethical issues. When you are using these technology for some malicious intentions, for some wrongdoing, then the law comes. And as you know, we have the law, and nowadays, day by day, it is getting very tough. So if you are misusing something, naturally, definitely, when you are using some AI in technology, because I said that lots of data is available free of cost, and if these AI machines are being trained in by using some malicious intention, then definitely it is going to harm the people. So as far as the scientists, the researchers are using it for the betterment, there's no problem. But if they are not using for the betterment, like I can tell you an example. Compass is a software which is used in the US courts, but it has been seen that that's AI software has been developed by using the data which is biased towards the people, one kind of people. So whenever it is giving some judgment, it is always biased towards one particular race of people. So it all because AI systems are always trained by getting the data. So if your data is biased, naturally the system will also be biased. So if you want to make a fairer system, that is actually required in education. In education, you can't be biased towards one race of people or towards one kind of one gender of people. So if you want to really be fairer, then these softwares must be developed by using fairer means. So I think I have answered the question.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So one more query is the how AI be useful in making the regular lecture of teacher effective?
Ma'am, if you right now we are also using smart classes, and in smart classes, if we are using mix of this AI software and the teachers' creativity, then we can actually do better. So in classes, these AI tools can be used in collaboration with the teachers. So teacher will create the content, according to the need of, as in the previous session also sir said, that a software cannot see the face expressions. Software cannot actually see what you are feeling right now. Okay, so the teacher can better judge. So teacher can use his own creativity, his own innovations, and that will be supplemented by these AI softwares. Right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, one more query is from the research student, as we have a good number of researchers connected here. How AI is useful for solving the problem of copying the content from the web?
As I said, there are softwares like Emma. I have given you example, plagiarism checker. So it can be used for checking the plagiarism, and actually they are based on some is based on linking the websites or linking the contents, linking the articles and documents, and some are basically using your own way of writing. Let's say if you are you yourself is writing some essay 10 times, so this software will find the pattern, that how you are writing, which kind of words you are using, what kind of sentiments you are using, and then accordingly it can check whether it is your own creation or not. So instead of just checking because see, if I'm writing something, I cannot see that maybe the same thing has been written by somebody else. Okay, but that is not plagiarism, because when I'm writing by my own, but maybe the same sentence has been used by somebody else also. So these kind of software, the Emma software, only understands your own way of writing, and on the basis of that it will check whether that student has written or not. Right, ma'am? For example, let's say you have taken a test of 20 students, let's say 3 to 4 times. So this Emma software will learn that what is the pattern of writing of every student, and then you give an exam. So when you are giving the examination, again you are taking the papers. At that time, this software will check whether this person has written by himself or cheated from some classmate. So that is how this Emma works. So we have now plagiarism softwares, very good plagiarism softwares, but still lots of work is going on in this field.
Okay, thanks for such a nice answer, sir. So next question is what is the scope of chatbot in solving the educational problems?
Like ma'am, as you know, the teachers have to attend many number of students. Let's say you are a career counselor. So maybe that you are not available to everybody. But if you are a good counselor and you have created your own chatbot, so that can help a lot of students. Like ma'am, there is a good psychologist, let's say in Agra, there is a very good psychologist, but this psychologist may not be reachable to everybody. So what he can do, he can make a chatbot, and then he can make it available to the persons who really need it. So through the question answering, that person's problem can be solved or the person can be counseled. So the same way, if a teacher is a very good counselor, if a teacher is a very good teacher in a particular subject, so there are some fixed kind of questions, because over a period of time you understand that what kind of questions the teachers are the students are posing in front of you. So you can develop your chatbots, you can make it online, and the students can interact and get the questions solved. Right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. So last question is from my side. As I already know your field, how AI is useful for the emotional development of the pupil?
Ma'am, I'm telling you, nowadays, most of the AI ML companies, they are working on sentiment analysis. Even they are helping, like, see, when we used to have comprehensions in English, right, ma'am? Precise writing, summarization of the paragraphs, all these are being done automatically. Let's say there is a paragraph, and in that paragraph, the AI systems can give you many number of questions. See, when you are taking the online examination, online test, it is always a difficulty that what kind of multiple choice questions you can provide, isn't it? Because finding the questions and then writing their 4 to 5 answers is very difficult. And those answers which should look similar to the students. So it is doing this thing is very difficult. But nowadays, the AI/ML companies are actually doing the work, and they have produced the softwares which can generate many number of questions multiple choice questions, fill in the blank questions from the same paragraph, maybe that we cannot do as a teacher. So that is what sentence analysis, the sentiment analysis, the recommended systems, all these are using actually AI and machine learning to do all these kind of things. So AI has got tremendous opportunity, tremendous potential in this education as well as different kinds of fields. Like in the previous session, somebody was asking the emotional analysis. So this AI can be used for that also. Through the question answering system, you can analyze a person's emotional strength. Right, ma'am? Does it make sense what I've answered? I think your the queries are answered by me.
Yes, sir. I hope all the participants have got the answer of their queries.
Yeah,
So now, thank you so much, sir, for
thank
a
you,
very
ma'am.
meaningful and informative talk delivered by you. It was great to listen you on this very new topic, which was the application of AI in education. Our participants are not from the computer science background. Still, they understood very well as they shows in their feedback in the chat box.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank you
once
very much.
again for bridging a gap between the two disciplines with your expertise. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like
Thank you, ma'am.
to request Professor Anpesh Chandil, HOD, Faculty of Education, DEI, for giving the vote of thanks for today's workshop. Sir, kindly unmute your mic. Sir, you are not audible. Kindly unmute your mic.
Hello. Okay.
Sir, now you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, Neha and Dr. Neha Jain and Dr. Neetu Singh for providing me this opportunity to render vote of thanks from Faculty of on the behalf of Faculty of Education and School of Education. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Archana Kapoor, Dean Faculty of Education, for her leadership provided to run all these programs of AI and School of Education. I would also like to thank Professor Nandita Satsangi for working day and night restlessly to complete the task of the tasks undertaken under this project of School of Education given by MHRD. I would like to thank our two esteemed speakers of the day, Professor C. Patwardhan, Faculty of Engineering, Dayalbag Educational Institute, Dayalbag, and Professor M.K. Mishra, Professor N.K. Mishra, Hindustan College of Engineering. Both of these speakers were from engineering background, but they wonderfully connected this concept of artificial intelligence, related this concept of artificial intelligence with education. And they gave several examples, quoted several examples, how the artificial intelligence can be used in education field. We are extremely indebted for their kind support. And both of these speakers prepared their lectures for us and gave their time, spared their valuable time for us. Thank you very much, Professor Mishra and Professor C. Patwardhan. I would like to thank Dr. Neha Jain and Neetu Singh. I think both of you are the coordinator of this workshop. Am I correct, Neha Jain? Neha, madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I would like to thank the technical staff of this School of Education. They are always available and they take full responsibility of all technical arrangements. They work restlessly. They don't only work for this School of Education. They definitely do lot of things, lot of work, Faculty of Education in general and in specific, and for the Alberg Educational Institute in general. Their services are definitely must be recognized by the faculty and by the institute. They do a lot for the institute and the faculty and School of Education. Thank all members of this AI group of faculty of this School of Education, Faculty of Education, for organizing such wonderful. I would like to thank the 200 and about 300 participants around the world. I think international participants are there also. Yeah, are there international participants? I think there are some international participants also. I thank all the participants for joining this program. And I hope that the learning which have taken place during this workshop and these lectures and presentations, they will definitely take these experiences to their school level and the class level. I thank all the participants who actively participated in this workshop. And last, I thank everyone, anyone who has directly or indirectly supported in organizing this seminar. And thank you very much. Thank you very much all. Radha Sumi.
Thank you so much, sir. We have the participants from all over the India, and almost all the states have been covered, and we also have a good number of international participants. Thank you so much, sir, for the vote of thanks. Now, some instructions for participants. Dear participants, you can find the feedback link, feedback cum assessment link in the chat box till 2 p.m. The link will also be sent on your email ID. You can fill it by 5 p.m. positively. Only those registered participants who have joined the workshop from on the Zoom platform or by the YouTube will get e-certificate. Okay, so now thanks for patience listening in session 1 as well as in session 2. Thank you all the participants. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You all can fill the feedback cum assessment form. Link is available in the chat box.